Hi everybody, I am Anita from Siker.guru and I am here with a brand new episode. This episode is very special because of two things. One thing, it will be in English, and the other thing that I have a very special guest for you. A guest that actually changed my life. When I moved to Mexico with a 5-month-old baby, I went into a deep depression. My husband was never home, I was alone, I didn't know anyone. So, of course, I did what everybody would do. I went to a psychiatrist. But that person, after 2-3 questions, prescribed me a very strong antidepressant. That happened on the same day when I got a book. A book from the person who is sitting right next to me. And we will get to him in a second. Let's just make a very quick introduction who he is exactly. I just got him Jim. He's my first mentor. And his first wife actually was married to the worldwide famous author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul, Victor Hansen. And he's also the godfather of their daughter. He had the fortune to go for a whole week retreat with the worldwide famous Eckhart Tolle to Costa Rica at the time when his first book came out, so he was not yet a worldwide famous household name. He's also friends with Jack Canfield, Susan Jeffers, and all the big names actually in the personal development industry, because you can only not name one seminar where he was not participating in the last 40 years, beginning from Jack Canfield, Tony Robbins, or the worldwide famous T. Harv Eker. He also wrote a book that I absolutely find very inspirational, and it did change my life on ways that I can't even describe. His life is just joy and happiness and letting go and allowing everything in your life. It's really just an example to everyone. So let me welcome my first mentor here in my channel. Hi Jim, how are you doing today?
As good as it gets.
So great. You see, I'm a bit struggling with English here because usually I do my interviews in Hungarian, and I'm very happy that you agreed to do that interview with me.
Sure.
Because I do believe that you have not just a lot of wisdom to share with the people, but also to my followers. We will get to specific questions during that interview, but you can really share and give a lot of knowledge to people who are watching and who can speak English, by the way. So let's just start with my first question. What was the greatest advice that you have ever gotten in your life?
It came from a man named Mike Ferry, who was a teacher for me in the real estate profession in Southern California. And it's a 4-part suggestion. Show up, tell the truth, pay attention, and don't be attached to the results. So show up in mind, body, and spirit. Because a lot of times you're going to show up with your body, but your mind's not there, or your spirit's not there if you don't want to be there. If you go through a checkout line in the market, you can tell which cashier is there in body and mind and spirit, which is there just in their body. You can feel the vibrations when somebody's really there. So when you're doing something with body, mind, and spirit, it has a certain energy that goes into it. And if you're only there with the body and you're working on a factory, on a line, you're doing the same thing over and over again with just your body. Your mind's gone, your spirit's already either gone or dead or almost dead. So show up, but also meaning show up in body, mind, and spirit. Check in. See if you're there in all 3 parts. Okay? The second one is pay attention. Be in the now. That is a big one. Pay attention. So, in certain books that you read, I think Robert Heinlein had one where there was a parrot, a certain bird on an island where these people all lived. These people were very advanced people, but they taught the bird to always say, pay attention. So all over the island was these birds that would remind you, pay attention. Mm-hmm. So show up, pay attention, right? Pay attention. It's a big deal.
Yes.
Right? If you're not there, you're going to have a traffic accident. You're driving on the freeway, you miss the off-ramp. You weren't there. Be there, right? Third one is tell the truth, including the withholds, what you don't want to say. Be 100% brave and honest. That way you don't have to remember if you lied or not.
Exactly.
Right? And your word will have power. When you keep your word, tell the truth. You're going to be somewhere at 1 o'clock. You're there at 1 o'clock. You're not there at 5 after. You're there exactly at 1. And you're there with full power. It shows that you respect the people, etc. Right? So tell the truth. If you're going to do something, do it. Right? If you're not going to do something, don't. Or renegotiate. So show up, pay attention, tell the truth, including what you don't want to say. Get it off your chest. Don't have little things carrying around with people. Get clear. I don't, I'm owning this. I don't like it when you come late to dinner or whatever. It just, would you please, can we have an agreement that you come on time? See, all the problems in relationships are caused by broken agreements. Either that you thought that you said that or whatever. Yeah, broken agreements cause all the problems. Keep your agreements. Tell the truth. And the last one, do not be attached to results. Whatever happens, do not be attached to what happens. You can always say, I like the word from a guy named Mark Allen. He'd say, this or something better and its own due time for the highest good of all. Right? Like last month, I couldn't get into Canada. I drove 1,200 miles. I couldn't get through the border.
Really?
But I couldn't. They wouldn't let me in. So I had to turn back. But I said to myself, I was upset, but my higher self said, Jim, maybe if you would have went in there, something bad would have happened. Maybe you would have had a head-on collision. Maybe we saved your butt. The people that missed the bus for 9/11 weren't in the building. Right? Who knows? So don't be attached. What happens, happens. If you have no preference, you have no pain. Hello, baby. What's happening? This is my guru over. This is my mentor. This is where I'm headed.
My daughter is his guru.
This is where I'm headed. This is where I want to go back to, right here. So, don't be attached to results. If you have no preference, you have no. If you can look at something, Byron Katie has something. You have a thought. Is it true? How would you be without that thought? So something's upsetting you, or you have an old grievance you've carried for 20 years against somebody. How would you be without the thought? And probably you'd say, I'd be free.
Yeah, happier.
Or I would be free. Maybe not happier, but at least free. Right? So how would you be without the thought? Right? Don't be attached to results. Just let go. Whatever happens. It already happened anyway. Being mad about it, like Eckhart Tolle says, you're crazy to fight with reality. You're insane. It already happened.
Yeah.
Right? It's already happened. And then you have something bad happen. Now you got you got ammunition so you can talk to people with blame, complain, worry, and hurry.
Yeah, they do
Your
that.
total conversation: blame, complain, worry, or hurry. Don't do any of those, and don't hang out with people who do. What I ask people to do is say, look, can we look for the good for 10 minutes? Can we look for can you just tell me what's good for 5 minutes? What's amazing in life?
Yeah.
How about the next breath? What's amazing? So, best advice I ever got was the fourfold, right? Show up, pay attention, tell the truth, do not be attached to the results. It's an amazing formula.
Exactly.
So that was very good advice. So that's the answer to your question. A long answer, but that's the answer.
Thank you. Well, now that we are here, actually, I wrote a bunch of questions, but I don't think that with you we will go like in order. So now you mentioned that let's talk about 10 minutes just about the good. And I did read your book, and it was really about your spiritual growth and how you live life really happily. No matter what happens, you just let go. You just really enjoy life. You allow things to happen. One of the main things that I really like that you don't live like how it should be.
No, let me back you up a little bit. Remember, my life is beautiful because I do the 7 Ps. I live 7 Ps. What are 7 Ps? Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Right? I don't live a messed up life. My house is a temple. It's beautiful. My car is a temple. My finances are a temple. It's not like you allow things to happen, but if you don't do the 7 Ps, then messy stuff can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're dealing with stuff because you were too lazy to do something. I always say, I told you the other morning, the state of your bed is the state of your head.
Exactly.
Right? You don't make your bed, you're going to be a messed up person. Trust me. Your life ain't going to work. First thing I want you guys to do, everybody, make your bed. Right?
That's the first step.
Go back and make your house a temple. Make believe you're going to have the person you respect the most. You're going to pick them up at the airport. You're going to stay tonight in your house. Your car is going to look presentable. Your house is going to look presentable. And you want to live like that every day because you're the most important person in the world. And if your house is messed up, remember in the book we had the 4 things: allow, available, appropriate, outrageous.
Yes.
Make everything in your life appropriate to the highest vision of yourself. All right? So most times I don't have any drama happening. Once in a while you get hit a curveball. But most times I've already taken care of it before it happens. So it doesn't happen. Because I don't do stupid things. I have done stupid things before in the past. I've had to pay the prices. You don't have to pay if you take care of business. Right? So yes, it's, don't be attached to results. It's about, okay, let go, flow, and glow. Right? But I let go when from a nice pot. If you need to stop everything, go back and clean up everything, straighten up all the messes, you have in your relationships, heal, forgive people, get all that straightened out first. Then you can flow, glow, and let go, flow, and glow. But sometimes you got to go back, like in 12-step program, go back and make amends, straighten up, go make your bed, clean your house, get your car, get your stuff together.
And that was one of the teaching that I did understand from you, because I read it everywhere, and somehow you made it clear with that how you make the state of your bed is the state of your mind, right?
State
how you
of your
live
bed
it
is
in
the
the
state of
morning.
your head.
Your
Well,
head.
a little poetry
exactly.
there, yeah.
Exactly. So, and then you also said this one sentence, which is really made this even more clear to me, is when you said how you do the little things is how you will do the big things. So that's why it's so important to do these little things, what you just told me now, to make order in your house, to make your bed, to really pay attention to the details. Because if you can't handle the little things, no way that you will be able to handle the big things.
It seems, not saying, I still have areas of my life where I'm sloppy, but I have enough money that I can hire people to take care of me. Understand? Like I have my maid at the house right now. She's there for 5 hours. But I fed her lunch. Not many people feed their maids lunch. I do. Do I leave her a big tip every week? Yes, because it's part of my family. These people take care of me in areas where I either do not do it or I don't care to do it. But I don't care how it's done. Either you make the bed or someone makes it for you. It's fine, but it's made.
Yeah,
and your house is in order and your car is washed. And that stuff like that. It's not always me to do it.
Yeah, okay.
But at least delegation, when you get going, sometimes you need to be able to delegate Monday. You want to major in majors, not major in minors. So you need to have a family or a business family or a crew, or these are my, when I was in real estate, I had maybe 9 or 10 people that were with me that either took care of me or my assistant would take care of me. Before I had cell phones, he would call me before my meetings to remind me. I didn't have a reminder thing. So either you do it or you delegate it out to have done. Yeah. But sometimes if you're going for it, you can get a little help. Like I suggest for you to get a nanny to have a little break from, the first 2 years you're bonding with your baby. I understand that. But you still need a little break. So you have to focus some of the energy on you, not only just the children. Because a lot of people put all their stuff on the kids and they don't, and they're empty, or their relationship goes to shit.
Yeah.
So goes not supposed to swear. Relationship gets a little touchy.
A little touchy.
So
yeah, exactly.
So, but either do it or delegate it, but live beautifully in all as much and as beauty as you can do it. It doesn't, like Jesus didn't have a whole lot. But the soldiers fought for his clothes because he had a seamless garment. Well, in those days, what a seamless garment would be. They had to be all weaved, without a seam, because most of the time you just had rough threads. But they all fought. They gambled and they got in a big fight because they wanted his robes and stuff. He didn't have much, but what he had was the finest. So don't have to have much, but what you have it fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Have a fine life all the way around, just fine. have a few things that have some clothes that you put on that you feel like, good,
You are the
good.
king of the hill.
Well, king of the hill, queen of the mountain, I don't care, whatever. So something that
Makes you feel good.
You want to have, and in space, at least have one room or one area that's an altar that's sacred, that your house, you want to have sacredness in your life, in all the areas, in body, mind, spirit, 7 areas, emotions, family, finances, health, all the areas that, as sacred as you can.
So let's go back to the positive thinking a little bit, because most people don't really understand what does it mean to live in a life with positive attitude, with positive thinking. And I love that in your book, and I did steal that example from you. Walk into a room and see everything which is green. Everything. Remember, memorize it, and then close your eyes and tell everything which is blue. And you made such a fantastic simile with that it is exactly the same with your attitude. You enter a life and look for everything which is hatred, boredom, doubt, and fear. And then close your eyes and list everything which was joy, fun, happy, and loving in your life. And I think this example is just demonstrates really in these 3 sentences.
Well, that's not exactly what the exercise meant. You kind of missed the boat on it a little bit. What the exercise is that when you're paying attention to something, you're paying attention to something and you exclude something else out. So what I'm saying there is that what you focus on is what you're going to see in life. Right? So if you're focused on fear, doubt, ain't it awful, you'll see the things. You're going to go out in the world and you're going to find the things that's going to make you right. You're going to see the newspaper headline. You're going to hang out with the people. You're going to be in the Ain't It Awful Club, and you're going to go in a group of people that they're just saying the same thing. But what you're looking for, you're going to find. Your subconscious. So it's like when you bought a car, your last car, like when I bought a car, and then the week after or a month after I bought this brand new car, I seen a whole bunch of these cars, at least this type of car or make of car on the road. Before I owned one, I never seen one. Because now my consciousness tells me, look, you're smart. You bought one, other people own it, right? So whatever your main interest is, you're going to see. Like I think, Rumi said, a pickpocket, you can see it. Pickpocket can mean a saint, but all he's going to see is pockets. You understand? Never going to see the glow. All he's going to see where his pocket is, right? So, it's not to make anyone feel guilty. I'm just saying that we have the power to change our observation and then therefore change a lot of our life by observing different things, not concentrating, on things that are negative. Well, I think that taking a break or a diet from the news, because the news is really the olds, and the only thing that sells on news is usually bad stuff, people dying, being war, blah, 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 Brexit or whatever's bad is happening in Europe, or whatever. So take a 40-day fast from news. For 40 days, don't watch the news. For 40 days, only talk positive with people. Only be around people that are saying, possibility people. See if you can take a diet away from, and to see what the difference life is.
Yeah.
So it's not, you can find whatever you want out there. You can go to all kinds of movies, any kind of genre. You can go to horror movies. You can go to war movies. You can go to romantic. You can go to Star Wars. You can go to any kind of movie you want. It's the same thing in life. Which movie do you want in your life?
Exactly.
What movie do you want to have?
So what you mean is, like, with the focus, I can actually govern what I want in my life. I just have to decide, this is how I want my life.
Well, you've always done that. You just didn't realize it. So when you see real eyes, you look at that with real eyes. You understand that you've always been doing that. Now you have a choice instead of just being blindly, led by whatever shows up. But you can choose. You can choose. You can say no to some things, right? No, then say yes. Turn away. You can walk north, east, south. Which direction?
Yeah. maybe the reason why I understood actually that example of you on positive thinking, because 2020 for me is where I really, really want to master positive thinking. I read a lot about it. I practice it.
Okay, slow down a minute. Forget about positive thinking.
Okay.
Just forget about it. Just forget about it. There's no such thing as positive thinking. To make something positive, you have to enter into a world of duality. You have to make something negative, right? So the world, you know, the world has, and even in your body, you have a positive and a negative side, like a battery. Everything has a positive and a negative. Okay. You have to have both, right? But where you want to come from, right? So it's more than positive and it's more than negative. I wouldn't say to make a positive you have to make something negative. You're going to have to exclude something. This is an inclusive, right? So it's like the world gives you lemons, you make lemonade. You understand?
Yes.
So if you get problems, you got pain, you get an opportunity to grow.
Okay. Yeah,
so now I'm going to make it an opportunity. Yes, I know it. Where's your sunglasses, son? So make it an opportunity. When pain comes up, go, how can I grow from this? Can I let go? Is that the thing? Can I change it? Do I have to go back and redo it so it doesn't happen again? So all those wonderful lessons. But the best part of life, the best teacher in life is the pain. The best teacher in life is stuff that creates the reaction. If you can go back to the reaction and not react the same way, then you have the giant growth. And I'm still, after 40 years, I'm still doing this. I mean, every day. After 40 years, you think I can get on? No. Still got to do it. You know, ain't out of here yet. You know, still here.
But that's actually a very, very good point, because a lot of people bring positive thinking to an extreme where they just put on something and they just focus on the good and they ignore the bad.
It's not. They're Pollyanna. In other words, the English statement is Pollyanna. They're not realistic in a certain way. The realistic shit happens. Tires go flat. Accidents happen. People get sick. Things happen, right? So, but the choice is, you know, I learned this from Jack Canfield a whole lot. You know, E plus R equals O. It's in the book, The Success Principles. The most important, you talk about certain things that are really important. E plus R equals O is do you know what it is? Event plus the response equals the outcome. If you want to change the outcome, you have to change either the event or the response. You can change anything by changing the response.
We are back.
Anyway, we're talking about Jack Canfield's. The book's called The Success Principles. It's in 27 languages, many languages. You know, I really, really, really promote that book along with Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth. My book's fine. You know, Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul, is an amazing book. But Jack Canfield's book is E plus R equals O. Event plus the response equals the outcome. You can change anything in your life by changing your response. And that's the secret. Whether the event good, bad, or ugly, it's the response that counts.
Exactly. We were talking about focus, how it leads to the life that you can change, what is really positive thinking according to you, and what we should watch out with the positive thinking, not to really go to the extremes.
And I think just don't do positive thinking whatsoever. It's just thinking. It's either stinking thinking or not stinking thinking. Stinking thinking, right? It's usually just repetitious thinking over and over again about a problem instead of going to the solution. If you got a problem, it's a gift. Let's go to be solution-oriented, not problem-oriented. So you have a problem come up. You're going to do one of three things. You're going to fix it. You're going to just fight it, keep revolving it around in your head, or you're just going to let it go. So certain things you can't change. You can't change the weather. You can make a lot of people make a problem out of the weather. Weather is the weather. You can't change it. So it's your response again. Change your response, you change the outcome. The weather is the weather. Your response is I'm okay with it, and you go and you put your shoes on and you singing in the rain and run down the street jumping up and down like kids, right? Or you go ma 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 ma. Yeah? So it's the response that counts. So I really would rather say it's responsible thinking, which means I'm responsible for my thinking and my reactions to whatever happens. But if we're trained a certain way, you know, if you have had a really bad childhood, or your peers or who you're hanging around with, and they belong to the Ain't It Awful Club, and they belong to oh shit, and I'm 40 years old. I got bad teeth. I'm in a bar. I'm smoking cigarettes. I mean, then you're going to hang around with the group. Birds of a feather flock together. There's old things your grandmother would say to you. So, if you need to change something, you need to find something, change your mental diaper. Get rid of the poo-poo. Change the diaper. Put a clean diaper on your mind. It's the same thing. If you leave that diaper there and it's all poo-poo, after a week and a half, it gets pretty nasty. Right? Some people got poo-poo in their head.
Tell me more about that Ain't It Awful Club, because I did read that you are the average of the 5 person that you spend time with, and most people don't understand how important it is. Can you tell me more about that Ain't It Awful Club?
The sum total, you usually pretty much your personality would be very like the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around the most. Some people just hang around themselves the most. Some people hang around. So if you're hanging around with 5 religious people, you're going to kind of have to, it might be a zealot. You might be, over the top religious-wise. So if you look at the 5 people you hang around with, and you look at each one of them, and you say, I'm the sum total pretty much of those 5 people. Not making it wrong, but saying, okay, if you want to change or evolve your life, you may have to let go of some friends or get some new ones that have more in going where so your energy is all going the same place. I mean, you have to really decide what you want and where you want to go.
And what would you suggest to people who, for example, can't change the people that they are with because it's their mother or their father or their spouse?
They change the outcome. E plus R. They change the response. You change anything by changing the response.
Okay.
Don't respond the same way with your mother. She's always pushing your buttons. Then okay, well you just go do 5. Next time you're with your mother, for the next 5 times, just say yes to everything. You see, what happens when you get into a situation where you have back and forth? If you say yes, if we're playing tennis and you hit the ball and I don't serve it back, and you hit the ball again and I don't serve it back, you serve the ball 5 times and I don't serve it back. Pretty you saying screw it, I'm not going to play with you anymore, right? So the parents of people that you have in relationship, they know how you are and they know how to press your buttons. They press your buttons, you react a certain way. If you don't react that way, after 3 or 4 times, they're going to go, screw it. She's changed. They'll give up. And the game is over. You don't have to fight no more. So just say yes to everything. Try every Monday, say yes to everything all day long and see how your life is. And then on Tuesday, say no to everything, see how your life is. Try that for a month. Every Monday, say yes to everything. I don't mean something, everything. See what happens. Just say yes. You might end up on a motorcycle going to Bavaria. Who the heck knows, right? Right? But just say yes to everything on a Monday. And then no, and then try a no day. You see which day is more fun, which day has more adventure. Where all your adventure came out, wasn't planned. Usually you're not going to get your the things that you remember most in your life usually are not in a brochure. They happen like spontaneity. The bird landed or something. The magic happened. It wasn't planned.
So that was actually a very important point that you just made, and I want to go back a little bit to when I blame my parents, for example. Right. Then I realized after a while that I have to change my behavior and my reaction because I can't change them.
Well, let's make it real. What do you blame your parents for?
Okay, you want an example right
now?
No,
I want the real deal. I don't want an example. What do you blame your parents for?
I used to blame my parents.
For what?
For my personality, for example, because they programmed me. I used to do that. And then I realized that I am 100% responsible for my life and I have the choice to reprogram myself. So I think at the moment when I decided that
what was wrong with your personality?
Well, I was too pushy. I had this inferiority complex. I had low self-esteem. I thought I'm not good enough because of how my parents behaved with me when I was young.
My guess is it was more from your peers at school, not your parents so much.
Well, that too. I think it's both sides.
And it also comes from you comparing yourself. So, really, I mean, the truth, if we go down to, here's what I do when this comes up like this. I want to do 5 whys. WHYS, 5 whys, right? So, if we go 5 whys deep, you give me an answer, and then I'm going to say, well, why? Right? So you had an inferiority complex.
Yes.
All right. Why?
Because people, back then I thought that people made me believe that I am less and I'm stupid.
Okay. Why did you think that?
Because that's what I heard from them.
Why did you think that?
Why did I think
Because
that? That was the feedback that I got from the people.
Right. Was that feedback true?
Probably that feedback was not true.
Well, no, not probably. Was it true or not?
No. It
Was
was not true.
Some of them might have been true, right?
Some of them, yeah, of course.
Some
but
of them might have been true, correct?
on average, it was not
Right.
true.
So, no, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what's true. See, what I'm saying, feedback from other people, sometimes I can take it, see, we can take it as criticism or I can take it as course correction. Because the way the universe is feeding you back something, sometimes, you know, I can use it. If I take it as criticism, usually I'll get upset. But if I take it as course correction, I can go, oh, okay, so I can enjoy it. So what I'm saying to that now is you know, I still do it. I get pissed off if somebody gives me feedback I don't want to hear, but then 2 hours later I go, hey, you know, they're right. So, and that's course correction. I got an opportunity to look at myself because feedback's really important. So I was in this training one time. So my first training was LifeSpring, which was an offshoot of EST, and LifeSpring happened at the same time in the early 70s in the United States. And EST, which is Landmark Forum, is still going around the world. LifeSpring has since stopped, and then I did a lot of things. But one of the things you did in training is I'm in a room with 400 people. And you had to look around the room, and you had to pick out the person that you liked the least in the room. And then you had to go and stand in front of that person, you know, and look at them. Well, out of 400 people, I had 219 people standing in front of me. Because the feedback was I was an asshole. Right? And I was getting it from a lot of people. Right? So I had a course correction.
Yes.
Did I feel good about that? No, not at that time. Right? But the truth is, it's a course correction.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so, you understand? So I'm saying that basically, see, I use a little ditty, a little. It goes like this: no blame, no complain, no worry, and no hurry. Don't hang out with people who do that, including yourself. Just say, look for the good, or I gotta go.
Okay.
Look for the good. So no blame, no complain, no worry, no hurry. Don't hang out with anyone that does. Look for the good, or you gotta go. So, and a lot of times you're going to be alone because the people they ain't going to be around you anymore because they know that you're not going to listen to that stuff.
Yes.
So it gets a little lonely at the top.
Yes, I heard that.
So,
I heard that.
anyway.
So that I understood it correctly, like when I do this blaming game, then usually people who don't trust themselves, who don't believe in themselves, they would take this feedback as a criticism and it would just take them down. But if you stand your ground and you actually trust yourself and you believe in yourself, then you can hear that feedback and you can say, okay, first you see from who it is coming, and then you
well,
just
the brave thing would be to do is to thank them, thank you, and ask them why do they say that? Why do you think that?
So let's get to our next question. The book is really full of great quotes, and I did write it out for me. And one quote that it's really my favorite is that I can live life without demanding it to be different than it is. It does mean a whole lot of things for me. What I would really be interested what you meant by that sentence.
What's the sentence?
The sentence was, I can live life without demanding it to be different than it is.
Well, it's sanity. I mean, wanting life to be different than it is because it already is that is insane. So the mark of insanity is wanting it to be different than it is. Now, I want it to be like it is. Now I want to have something changed, okay, but first of all I have to be okay with it is. Now I'm okay, I have a blue room and I want to paint it to be, cream color. Then I have to do something, right? But sit there being mad at it because it's blue and just ruining your whole life because you're in a blue room because you're too lazy to get up to paint it is the same thing. You're just in a blue room and you don't like the blue, right? Or if you don't like a blue sky, you're in trouble because you ain't going to paint the sky.
Can you give me an example? Because that actually, I really liked to think about that regarding relationships. Can you give me a different an example how it works? For example, in a partnership, how always the people try to push and try to change the other person.
See, most relationships are codependence. People are in a codependent situation. If you look at most of the gurus or most of the leaders in the world, very seldom, a lot of them are not in a relationship. It's difficult to be very powerful and be in a relationship because someone's giving up something. So I'm not a real aficionado of relationships. I think you've got to, I think raising a family, there's a certain amount of goodness in this, but I still think the two people, like Kehel German said, the oak and the cypress do not live in each other's shadow. You need some space. But most relationships look like a teepee, like this. So one person moves, the other person falls because there's codependency.
Yeah.
So nice. I think relationships are good as long as you can keep your autonomy and you can keep your personal thing. And then once in a while you come together or whatever. But to have a relationship that's smothering and using the other person as a sounding board or blame or whatever, or for your good or your financial support or whatever, then you're going to be into this leaning situation. And most of those relationships, if I look around at all the people that are in committed relationships, I don't know if there's too many I would want to say I would like to have that. Most of them,
yes.
They may have some parts that are good, but not too many. So I'm not a real fan of relationships. I think they're a trick of nature to propagate, to keep to keep the system going. Like animals mate and all that. Relationships, they're difficult, and most of the time I don't see any sense to it. It's crazy. Why?
But you do live in a relationship at the moment.
I know. I have a relationship, but I have my own home. She has her own home. We meet a couple times a week. I support her. She supports me emotionally and stuff like that a little bit. But basically, we have our own lives. We have our own friends. We don't commingle with everything.
And how would it work, like with a family? If you have kids, you want to raise the kids together. Then they can't just move to different houses.
See, we're stuck in a way of raising children. So I was in the island of Bali. In the island of Bali, the children raise the children, not the parents. So you see a 7 or 8 year old carrying around a baby and feeding it, right? And in the island of Bali, everybody lives in little communes, and everybody helps raise the kids. In ancient Hawaii, the children were passed around to be raised by different people, so they didn't get one person's nuts, idiosyncrasies. They didn't get one set of crazy parents. The kids were moved around. Also in Hawaii, the firstborn would always be given to the grandparents to raise because it gave the grandparents purpose to stay alive.
Ah, okay.
Right? So there's different ways in societies, the different ways. So I just seen a study yesterday. The best place in the world that our children are raised are in Finland, Denmark, and Sweden. Whatever they're doing over there in the socialistic countries, but whatever they're doing over there seems to be working pretty good. So if I was going to raise a kid, I would probably be looking at seeing how the people in Denmark, Finland, and Sweden are doing to use that as an example. Because the kids in the United States are, by and large, I don't know what's going to happen because they're stuck on their cell phones, they're stuck in their video games, they don't have social connections. I don't know what the next generation is going to be. But the report I read 2 days ago was the Scandinavian countries have the best ways to raise children that they know of in the world.
You also referred to the harm of the violent movies, which I really loved how you expressed it, because it is really a big problem in our society. And now you mentioned the USA, that they are always on the phone, always on the video, these violent things, they are really everywhere. From Hollywood, they are like barely nothing coming out, which is like not violent or shooting or action. So I also brought a quote from your book, which is the following. It made sense not to watch violent, unloving entertainment. It just appeared so real and was nonsense. And exactly that is what I'm trying to teach my students, to really stop watching the news, stop watching.
It's not you teach your children. You don't have that in your home.
Exactly.
Take the damn TV out.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Because it's your home. You got control of it.
Yes.
You take that out or disconnect the internet. I don't care what you do, but not if they're going to play a video game. Play a game that they can learn something from. I'm sure there's games out there now that have some type of, either geography or math or, some type of learning, educational situation, or documentary or something. So you have in charge of your home. The children are not in charge of the home. People got it. The children basically, and we talked about that, even that with your daughter.
Yes.
They have a little imbalance. You need to take control of your home. So I mean that's the name of that tune. Either you don't. Either you're driving the horse, or the horse is driving you.
Yes, exactly. And so I got a lot of feedback from people who are saying, yes, sure, I know that it's not good for me, but that's my only entertainment. After a hard work of day, I come home and I watch an hour of television, and then I unwind, and this is how I entertain, this is how I unplug, this is how I relax. What would you say to these people who think actually that watching half hour of Walking Dead, people eating each other and the violence, is actually entertainment for them? What would you say to these people?
You really have to answer the question, if you want your life to change, you want your life to be a little different, or you want your life to be the same. If you want to continue your life to be exactly the same, then continue to do the same things you're doing. But if you want something in your life to change, your health, your wealth, your finances, your relationship, you want something to change in your life, something has to change in you, in your behavior and in your addictions and in your habits. Tell me your habits, I'll tell you your life. If you have a habit, you come home and you have a martini every night, or 2 martinis, or you come home and you put on the news or whatever like that, or you put on the sports and you're delving in sports and your wife is sitting there going, we haven't communicated at all in 2 years, right? You're going to get a divorce. So in the book, The Success Principles, again, he talks about yellow flags, red flags. You have warnings ahead of time, right? The doctor says you need to quit smoking, you're obese, you need to lose weight, you need to exercise. If you don't do these things, you're going to suffer whatever happens because of the consequences. So what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your body, etc.? And then you got to adjust your habits. And we talked about this yesterday. The difference between people that have and people who have not is pretty much in the word discipline. If you have the word discipline and you have that in your life, usually your life's going to be a whole lot different from those who don't have discipline. I mean, I can go by I'm going to Los Angeles this afternoon. I was in Los Angeles 2 months ago. I was down by the USC, by the Exposition Park, and they had these great big glass skyscrapers, billions and billions of dollars up into the sky, and I look at the ground, bring my eyes back down, and there's 20,000 people living in the street in tents. Cold, walking around. Right? They got there. I mean, the only way it's going to get them out is they got to get out. I walked out. I've had times in my life where I didn't have anything, but I didn't stay there. I changed something. I did something different, right?
Tell me about that time of your life, because you also, like your book is also kind of like your storyline a little bit. We get a little bit a look into your life, and there is a part where you're talking about you quitting your job, quitting everything, and just taking, I think, 18 months off and traveling on the West Coast up and down. Why did you do that, and what did that give you?
Well, there was a time where what I was doing work-wise wasn't working anymore. And I had a situation where I owned a lot of property, but I had too many loans on everything, and it was costing me too much money to support them. So I had to sell those properties, and there was a time when the market went down, so I didn't make any money. I made enough money to pay the taxes so I could keep my credit good, But my business was selling real estate, but real estate was going down 4 or 5% a month. So in reality, for me to sell something, I have to tell the guy, buy this, and next month you're going to lose money. So in reality, I couldn't do that. So I just said, screw it. So I lived in, a lot of communities, spiritual communities and ashrams. I lived with gurus. I lived with Quakers. I lived in the middle of the desert, dancing around a fire, nude by myself. I did all these things for a while. And then one moment, after several months, I don't know if it was 18, but after several months, I woke up one morning and I had a little truck and I had a little camper on the back, and I had slept in that camper. And I was waiting at 6 o'clock, and I had a coupon for free coffee, and I was waiting there, and it was in a cold part of the northwestern United States, near Idaho and Washington border, and it was at Kennewick, Washington, and I heard a voice said, Jim, that's enough of this. And I still have the coupon. I turned around, went back to Los Angeles, and I rented a room, and I rented a little office from an accountant, and I just went back to work. And that was in 1997. In 2006, I retired a multimillionaire debt-free. And it's the truth. And I still have it because we never touched the principal. We only live on what the money makes, so we have no debt. Zero. Everything is paid for. So we're bulletproof, pretty much. I mean, things can happen as long as you keep the health, and then everything goes away. But that happened.
You also told me about this very, very interesting habit that your wife had. Because I do believe that in order for you to be successful, you also, sure, you can do it alone without a partner, but it's always good to have a partner. And you did tell me, actually, that was one of your advice, to make something together with my husband, because 2 worth at 11. They don't worth at 4 or 5 or 6. Well, they worth at 11.
Well, it's one. If you take 1 and 1 apart like this, right to number 1, but if you put them both together, you have 11.
11,
power of
exactly.
11. But you got to remember, there's a couple things. I'm a believer of an old Italian saying that the only partner you want is an odd number less than 1. So I never do a partnership. Never.
In business.
Never.
Yes.
I don't. I've had 5 of them. 2 were fine, 2 were and 1 was hell. So not a good idea, partnerships. Okay, so what I suggest, with man and wife, or if you're in a committed relationship, I don't care if it's man, woman, man, wife, or dog, or whatever, but I'd like for you to do is come together for 1 hour, turn the phones off, and each of you had a pad of paper. And I'd ask you to do this, I don't think you've done it yet. So you turn around, you look this way, he looks that way, and you both write for 20 minutes the vision you would love to have. Just let your hand start writing the vision for your life in the next 5 years. Right? How you want to live, where you want to live, what you want to be doing, what's entertainment, what's for the next 5 years or 7 years or 1 year, whatever. And then come back together and compare both pieces of paper. And then you might want to make some compromises. I didn't know you liked that. I didn't know you liked that. Oh, that sounds great. Huh? So, and then from those 2 plans, see if you can birth 1 plan. And then break it down into parts, if you can, say 5 parts of the plan. And break those 5 parts down into 5 or 10 action steps that you'll do in the next month or year, or even 2 action steps to move you guys towards that goal. See, anything you want, if you just break it down into action steps, like you want to go to the store, well, you got to get the car, you have to make gas in it. I mean, people take more time to plan their vacations than they do to plan their life.
Usually, yes.
And they'll do all the research on the vacations.
Yes.
And then, okay, we're going to go here, and then I'll go here. Or they'll say, okay, I'll have somebody take me on tour because I just want to be a no-brainer. Then they give that right to someone else to lead them and to take them on a guided tour.
Yes.
Well, do you want your life to be a guided tour, or do you want it to be an adventure? Mm-hmm. There's 2 different kind of people. Some people will just want to be taken care of. Well, that's probably people that are not going to like this video.
Exactly.
Or you got people that want life to be an adventure. Remember, an adventure means you don't not know what's next. Because if you knew what's next, it'd be a guided tour. Right?
And that's the hardest part.
No, you keep saying that. What I tell you to say when you say that?
It's easy. Part. Exactly.
It's easy. Right?
Watch your words, right?
Right, because what your word comes out of your mouth, so you say it's easy. Right? It can be the most challenging part. but I wouldn't say hardest. I would use the word challenging. What does it mean challenging? I have to go up against my old beliefs, my old way I thought life was. That's a challenge. Because you got to go, yeah, and there's more than what you think. So it's more challenging, not hard, just challenging. But at a challenge, you get to be a bigger person. Because every time you go through something that's hard or a challenge, you get to come out bigger, stronger, more positive, more self-confident. Right?
And now I just like to pause here and just tell everyone about the importance of coaching. That I don't know if you noticed, but I said something that is hard, and Jim right away turned to me and said, "Don't say that because of that and that and that." And I think that is the value of a real mentor, of a real coach. And to tell you the truth, I did have a bunch of coaches in my life already. I had German ones, I had one from England, and I had a bunch of Hungarians too. But I never really had such a powerful coach than Jim, who really actually sees what you're saying, understands, and attacks you right away. And like, what, we had like 3 coaching sessions all together in the last 3 months. But these 3 coaching sessions for me meant 10 times more, actually, what all these other coaches for years gave me.
Many of this stuff is channeled. Because most of the time I don't think anymore. Because I've let go of almost all thinking. So most of what I'm talking that comes through me, not from me. Yes, it's colored with my experiences, and I've been through these experiences. But a lot of this stuff is coming from a source, I don't know what you want to call it. There's a certain power. So most of my life now, my decisions are made through me. And I just listen. Be still to the still small voice within. Usually, I've never seen it right. When it first started happening, I hear it, and I go, ah, and then an hour later, I went, oh, I wish I would have done what it said. And then after a while, I just started learning to listen to it more.
Yeah.
Right? Because most of my own decisions are based upon fear, greed, other kind of stuff like that. But this one, when listening, it's a different energy, and I can tell the difference. So most of the stuff, I have no idea what I'm going to say or even why I said what I said to you. I couldn't repeat it again. I don't even know. I mean, if I looked at the video, I wouldn't, because a lot of it's channeled. A lot of it comes from a source of goodness, a source of light. I couldn't imagine how beautiful a life I've had. I mean, how could I have it? I had no education, really, no family. I mean, and look what's happened to me, and look how I live in my homes in the 21 countries in the last 10 years, and and it's amazing. It's just simply amazing.
Right, I really like how humble you are, and how you really blame, so to say, that to a higher power. And I do understand that you have a connection, but I also think that also in your subconscious, because you did tell me about all the courses, all the teachers, all the books you read,
Sure.
all the experiences
Sure.
you read. And I am a true believer of personal development. And I do think that you are also a very good example of personal development, where you started from, where you're coming from, and then you begin to develop yourself.
Well,
and now, sure, it comes through you, but it is your experience.
Yeah, most of the personal development courses, you're like doing a 4 or 5 day course with anybody. The main reason I still do them, and I do them every couple of years, is because it cleans my heart chakra. Because in those courses, you have a lot of them, you open up your heart and you open up yourself to amazing energies that happen. And it opens it up again. So that, for me, is the main benefit. Taking 100% responsible for your life, getting your structures of your life in place, very, very important. Yeah, very important. And Esther or Landmark Forum will do that for you in a lot of the courses you have, in your course that you're developing. But a lot of it it's really about love. That's about it.
Tell me about the difference, what you always say, that there are two different lives. There are life which lived in fear, and there are life which lived in love. Like you practically say, you live here or you live there. There are no middle ways.
Well, that Gerald Chaplowski wrote a book, Love is Letting Go of Fear. So I mean, if I'm doing something and I have to say, am I motivated? Am I doing this because of fear or am I doing it because of love? If you're doing it because of fear, then I should stop. If I'm doing it for love, then go ahead, please. But if it's based upon a motivation of fear, you know, I probably want to be able to check that out, you know, and then remember event plus response, and check out my response to something to make my response more of a loving response than a fearful response. Because all wars are started because of fear. Either war in your family, war in your relationship, war with your body, war with whatever. A lot of it's become a fear. You know. So you can stop that.
So once upon a time, something happened. Then I made up a story about what happened. Mm-hmm. And then I forgot that I made up the story and began living my life as the story was true.
True.
This is just so deep, and I really, really hope that who you are listening, you can read between the lines, because there are a lot of wisdom here, put on a little bit of a different way that you guys used to. But that sentence, for me, like, obviously you said it, no matter where you are in life, this sentence will mean always different things to you, depending how you developed are, or well, what your situation in that era or in that decade or year is. For me, it meant limiting beliefs, 100%, that we made up these BS stories, our belief system, the BS
Who made
system.
them up?
We
Who?
actually,
No, who?
I make up mine.
There you go.
and how I do that in the early age and maybe in my teenage years, and then I just forget that I'm responsible for what I am believing, and I just live life like in that box.
It's fine, but you're not going to change it. It just makes up a different story.
Exactly.
Make up a story of living heaven on earth. So what do you need to do to live heaven on earth? What do you need to do to have a beautiful, amazing, expansive life, right? 7 habits of highly effective people. You know, the 4 agreements. You know, they're all out there. Just do those. You know? I mean, it ain't new stuff on the block. It's been around and around for a long time, right? So the wisdom from Lao Tzu or from Confucius, the wisdom from other great thinkers, it's just a life. It's a beautiful little episode that we get to play between birth and death, and the trick of it is to live free and beautiful, you know. And if you can do that and most of the time it works much better without the judgmental mind. And instead of making things right or wrong or positive or negative or whatever, you just don't judge anymore. So you made up the story. So it's all made up. Everything's made up. And then we live life like it's true. You can change the story by making up a different story. Just a story. And Byron Katie says, how would you be without that story? How would you be without that thought? I would be free. So if you have something that's painful, just let it go. It's done. How would you be without that? Be free. That's good. You're done.
Are we?
You don't go any further than that. That's as big as it gets.
Okay. Well, this was actually the last one. I have also some, but about gratitude, but it would be too long.
You want to learn how to get rich?
Yes, tell me.
Save 20% of every dollar that you ever make. Put it in the bank. Never touch it. So when you get a paycheck, with every dollar comes in, you get $500 for something, you get $8,000 or $800. You put 20% in the bank, you pay like a bill. That bill gets paid first, and you live on the other one. So if you ask everybody that you know that's 55 years old or older, and you say to them, if you had put 20% of every dollar you made in your life in the bank, how much would you have now? And they would go, oh my God.
Yes, exactly.
So just start doing it.
I like that your little bits of wisdom, like this, like people read it everywhere actually, and that's I did also observe on myself, that I read a lot of books, and there are things that I do, and there are things that I'm working on, and there are things that I don't do yet. And by having a personal mentor and personal coach who says that to you, not that you read it, it's very impersonal. If you have one-on-one with someone and says it to you, it sinks in 100 times more.
All professional athletes have a coach. All of them.
Yes.
You know, Tiger Woods have a coach.
They don't just read it in books.
They don't need it. Why do they need a coach? To keep them on purpose. So all pros have a coach. A lot of people pay Tony Robbins $20,000 an hour to coach. But before Tony will coach you, you have to sit down with him for 30 minutes and you have to convince him in 30 minutes. You have to convince Tony Robbins that you want this more than you want to breathe, more than you want life. You have to convince him that you've got the motivation. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Without the motivation, unless I'm clear that you're really motivated, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because discipline and motivation is what you need to do to change. It's hard to change a habit. You need to have to really say, okay, I really want to do this. And if you pay money out for the coach, the chances are you'll have a lot more chances of succeeding, you know, because you paid good money and it's not stupid. When I quit smoking, you know, I paid somebody to hypnotize me. This was 35 years ago or 40 years ago. And I paid the person $100. $100 then was a lot of money. So they hypnotized me. And maybe it worked, I don't know, but the paying the $100 kept the cigarettes out of my mouth for 3 or 4 days. And by that time, the nicotine got out of my system because he'd had drinking water. But because I paid him, and I didn't want to be a fool, you know, and I wanted to do and have it happen, it worked. So lots of times it won't work unless you have somebody saying, okay, you have to answer to someone.
Yes.
Now, if you know when you say I'm your coach and you don't do something, you know you're going to have to pay the dues. We told you we're going to burn a 150 or 200 euro bill in the ashtray. I'm going to have you burn it, right? I'm going to make you have some pain. You know? You don't get up and you don't make your bed and you're not awake by 5:15 and you don't text me at 5:15 and tell me you're up and you're ready and you're done. You've done the thing because everybody I know that got their shit together. That's what they do.
And also there's the difference, because if you read it in a book, no one will hold you accountable.
No,
You
read a book all day long, but until you get on the ski slope, you can read a book about skiing to 500 of them. But until you get on the slope, it doesn't mean nothing. You got to get out there and do it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's just a book.
And that is really a wonderful, wonderful last thoughts of just really make this interview nice and whole. That reading books, thinking about it is not enough. You have to actually go out and get action despite the fear that I learned from Susan Jeffers, that actually also you know her.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
We were all members of a group called Inside Edge. And in Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, he talks about this group, which was in early 1980s. So Jack Canfield was there. You know, Susan Jeffers was there, and they had a party that they threw, and you had to come to the party as you would be in 10 years.
Yes.
Jack came in carrying a book, and Susan Jeffers did, and of course Jack wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. Susan Jeffers wrote Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So they just carried these books around like, you know, it was just in their imagination. But it was come as you are party in 10 years from now or 5 years. So how would you, you know, if you were going to go to a party like that, what would you do? So it talks about that in the book, The Success Principles, from the Inside Edge in Orange County.
So back then he didn't write the book yet?
No, he didn't write the book
yet.
He
just wrote the book.
No, he didn't write the book at all. He was working as an inner city high school teacher. Then he started teaching kids self-esteem. So that was his path. But the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, the title actually came from a dream.
Yes.
So he talks about that. So they sold 500 million Chicken Soup for the books with 110 titles in the world. So and it's basically they didn't write it. It's just stories sent to them. Pretty interesting, huh? But they do everything with a mark of excellence. You know, so they did everything with a mark of. So I cannot. So if you really want to get your life together, I suggest that you use a coach. I can either hear use a coach, get the Success Principles book by Jack Canfield in your language. Read it. Do the written work with it in the book that he asks you to do. Chapters 1, 2, and 3. He's going to ask you to write some visions about where you want your life to go. And get real. I mean, do you really want to do this? I mean, are you really committed? Or is you just, you know, are you a little bit committed?
Yeah.
Are you 80%, 90, 60? And that's fine. If you're 60% committed, that's good. But you're 60%, you don't have a big chance of succeeding with 60%, usually. Not saying it doesn't happen. Sometimes goodness happens, serendipity happens. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But usually it takes a pretty strong commitment to want to make a change, you know. And coaching and having a coach is going to increase your chances tenfold without a coach, because you paid money. You have to be responsible to answer, did you do these things? You had a goal. You and a coach made out 5 action steps. She's going to check in with you to see if you've done those, and if you didn't do those, you know, there's reasons and results, and reasons don't count. Reasons do not count.
Oh,
Excuses do not count. The only thing that counts is results, and good luck. I got to go ahead and catch an airplane.
Bye. Thank you for being here.